Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chika, and today I will be discussing with you in this video about the top 10 challenges you're going to face as you begin to think about or venture into graduate school here in the US. Now, for context sake, I've been in the US since 2017. I had graduate school here. I did a master's degree ahead of pursuing my postgraduate medicine training here in the US. And I can tell you for sure that I have seen my own fair share of the challenges that you possibly might face. And so today I want to discuss the top 10 challenges you might face. The first five are really, really important. They are the ones that are kind of a make or break. The other five are neither here nor there, because depending on the kind of preparation you have and the environment and the navigations you have, you probably might not have as much challenges as other people may have. So without further ado, let's get into the challenge. Now, the number one challenge you're going to face if you come to the US unprepared is finances. Everybody knows that is what the answer is. It's almost like, what am I going to do? Financial instability is going to be your biggest problem if you do not plan ahead for it, you do not prepare for it. You just wake up in the morning and just come on hopes, dreams, or you just sit down and you dream about it and you do not plan adequately for it. The best way to come to the US for graduate school is for you to secure a fully funded scholarship to whatever program it is that you're going to do. All right. I'm an example, I'm a living testimony to the fact that if you come to school without full funding or you come to school without adequate financial backup, you're going to have a very big problem. I came to the US to school here with funding from my family, and I can tell you that it is number one most difficult thing you can do. By the way, I'm a Nigerian, and when I came to the US, the dollar to naira exchange rate was somewhere around the 200s. Right now, the dollar to naira exchange rate is about 1500 and climbing. And let me tell you that if you are sitting down and you are hoping that you're going to use your family finances, or for some reason your family or friends or whoever it is are going to convert US their local currency to US dollars and fund your education here in the US, I think you're actually shooting for a tall order. It is actually difficult, not impossible, but difficult. And I will not, again and again, I will not encourage anybody to do that. If someone is telling you that they're going to fund your education, you better be asking where that money is coming from, because a lot of people are struggling. I can't tell you enough, and I can't say it over and again, how many people are struggling here in the US doing graduate school and they do not know where their next meal is going to come from. They do not know how they're going to pay their tuition for the next semester. Education in the US is expensive. It rolls into thousands of dollars. So I am telling you for a fact, without any shadow of doubt, that financial instability will rock your stay here. And you will find it extremely difficult. You see other people thriving, not because they're having their best lives, but because they're able to make ends meet. And you will see yourself struggling. So if you think you want to hear about how I navigated my journey, paying for my own education, let me have the links in the comments. Let me know what you want to hear about. But believe me, number one thing that will put you off, number one thing that will make your life miserable, number one thing that will keep you back, and it will make sure that you are not moving forward at the pace you hope to move forward, is finances. All right. Hands down, everybody's going to say it. And that is why I've got a lot of messages. How do I get a scholarship? How do I not get a scholarship? If you want to hear about it, put the link in the comment below. Okay. So number one, if you settle money, if you settle your finances, I think 90% you have done the work. Okay. Or maybe 80% you have done the work. Number two, academic competition. Now, let me tell you that if you went to school in Africa, I do not know about other continents because I'm not going to be here to generalize, okay? And if you went to school, particularly in Nigeria, especially like in the regular public education system, you have no idea what is academic rigor. I know your school was tough. Listen, I have a medical degree from Nigeria, and I can tell you for sure we had one of the most rigorous programs and curriculums back in Nigeria. But nothing prepares you for the kind of academic competition you're coming to face in the US for graduate school. You think you've been studying, and I'm sure a lot of you know that you actually have not been studying. You've just been playing around. You somehow find a way of studying 1 or 2 weeks prior to the final exams. You go in, if you're a very intelligent person, you go and pass the exams, you come back and you're like, oh, I'm so good. That is not how it works here. That is not how it works. You're going to come into this place and you will see for yourself firsthand that you actually played like you were just joking back in the day, right? I went to medical school. I graduated medical school in Nigeria, and let me tell you, it is not the same. I have done regular graduate school. I'm doing a postgraduate training in medicine right now, and all of the preparation that went in between, it is not at the same level. So prepare your mind mentally. It is not as important as the pictures you take in the airport. Oh, I arrived, this and that. Everybody who has been here can tell you for a certain. Even those people who have trained in other continents, they always come to the US and find out that the academic rigor is nothing like they've ever seen before. So brace yourself for the challenge. This is not a walk in the park, right? It is not impossible. Again, everything I'm saying here, nothing is impossible. It's how prepared are you? All right. Don't sit down and plan your life on whatever it is that you're dreaming about. I do not know what you're dreaming about. Please and please prepare well. All right. This is not a playground. If you're coming for graduate school and you want to bag any of these degrees and you want to collect a master's degree, you want to collect a PhD. Listen, even the PhDs are just the worst. I don't even know where it is headed. But the people who have gone through these programs, the people who have gone through these challenges, they can tell you for a fact, you're not playing. They are not playing. And third, standing right behind it and following it is academic failure. If you're one of those people who have said to yourself, well, I've never failed in life, I'm never going to fail, life is so easy, I'm very intelligent, you don't know what hit you. If you're going to come in here and you do graduate school, please and please prepare your mind. Be ready to study. Be ready to sit down and put in the work from day one. But one thing I can tell you for sure, that most international students actually do well. The only thing is that maybe at your initial stage, you actually don't know the techniques for doing well. That's because you are not used to these techniques. But once you have a hang of the techniques, you actually do well. I can say that for sure because I've been here. I did excellently well. Right? And there are a lot of international students who have done excellently well. For context, Nigerians don't, cap, you are going to do well. But if you come in with that pride of, well, I've always done well, it's not just to write research. It's not just to, you do not know what you're talking about. Just wake up in the morning, put your bottom onto your chair and do the work. That work is not going to be done for you. Okay? Academic competition is number one. The rigor is different. No, that's number 2 point. Number 3 is academic failure. I'm going to use myself as an example. One course I know, I was this close to failing. I can't forget that course in my master's program. And I'm like saying to myself, I did everything. I tried to study the material. That material was just flying over my head. I tried to go to office hours. It was just not working. I did every single thing. I tried to study with my colleagues. Unfortunately for me in that class, the class size was very small. I think in the whole class we're just 9. So I just did not understand. I didn't find anyone that was willing to sit and teach me. Most of my colleagues actually were struggling. We went to different kinds of office hours. Like if they say it's in this school, maybe in the school of business, they have an office hour for a professor that can teach it, will be in the school of business. If it says in the school of art or whatever, it was actually a core statistic course, right? So in the school of health sciences, there was no one that was going to cut it for us, right? Outside of the professor. For each work we did, for each assignment we did, we will scout around the college, scout around the university, looking for people, looking for TAs that would manage to squeeze us into their office hours. Listen, I knew almost all the TAs with different office hours just because of that class. And believe you me, I was this close to failing that class. Men and brethren, I am not joking when I tell you that I knelt down on my knees and I said, God, is this how I'm going to fail? It was so bad. One day I was preparing for one of the homeworks. I actually forgot the deadline. I thought the deadline was like a Sunday at 11:59. Meanwhile, it was a Saturday 11:59. gracious to me. The professor messaged me in the morning and said, I sent everybody's homework. Where's your own homework? I'm like, oh, what? And believe me, I had no clue I was this close to failing. And guess what I did? I called my father and I said to my father, look, this is the one class I am not able to overcome. What am I going to do? What exactly should I do? And he said to me, you have to sit down and figure it out. I mean, you're talking to a Nigerian father, like, what exactly is he going to tell you? He's like, you're going to sit down, you're going to figure it out because you need to pass that class. I woke up that day. I called every single person in my class. I'm like, listen, I just need an idea. How do you figure this stuff out? It just didn't make sense. I didn't know the basics. Again, my background is medicine, 100%. I am in a healthcare department. I'm in a health science department. I am trying to study the statistics stuff that just refused to stick. I've done a lot of statistics classes. My major was biostatistics, so I know what I'm talking about. So I have passed every other class, but that one class was going to prove a challenge. And believe me, but for the Lord God of heaven sitting on the throne, I was going to fail that class. But you know what I did? I'm like, my dad already told me, listen, girl, you're going to figure this thing out. So you better be up for the challenge. And I was up. Okay. I sat down. I know after doing that homework, right? Lord knows, I think I had a very poor score in that homework. But after that homework, I said to myself, Chica, you're going to find out, like, you're going to figure out how to do this class. All right. And that is what I did. Period. I remember that was a fall semester. I think it was fall semester. After we wrote the finals of the exam, like early December, I was actually at Kohl's. I was just shopping with a friend, and then the professor released that grade. Oh my word! No, I did not have an A. Just in case you want to come and say, "Oh, I'm a genius," I am not. But let me tell you, I think like almost 80% of class got A's. Right? I was the only person with another person that got a B in that class. I stood in the middle of Kohl's. I turned around. I was dancing around. I was dancing. People were like, oh, what's wrong with you? They have no idea what the Lord has done. But my point is, you can be this close to failing. Don't joke. Graduate school is not for the faint of heart, and people fail. And when you fail beyond a particular GPA, and you are maybe, for example, you are being funded, right? And you keep failing your classes and you fall below the 3.0 GPA, your funding is going to be withdrawn. Don't play about it. Okay? Now, number 4, career stagnation. Now, there are a lot of people who are going to be here, right? And the number one reason why you have not actually made the move to come to graduate school is because you're asking yourself, I'm going to be stagnant. Like, this is my life. I have started, like, I graduated from undergraduate. I am probably on this trajectory career-wise, right? And I'm doing this and doing that. And the possibility that you should come back to school is scaring you because it feels to you like you have put your life on hold and you want to pursue this whole new beginner phase, and then you're going to return back. It actually doesn't make sense if you really ask me, but you need to ask yourself what the potential gain is going to be over time. All right, for some people it might not even be necessary, to be honest. Like, if your career is not going to make any difference, right, and it's just maybe for you to catch clouds, maybe you might be right. But I can understand legitimately the fear of career stagnation. Myself, again, as a good example, I was a physician in Nigeria. At the time I was living in Nigeria, I was 4 years practicing as a physician for 4 years. So you can imagine how difficult it is. And I know a lot of physicians face the same thing, who actually maybe leave their countries and come to a different country, because medicine is not an open source system, right? In medicine, there are certifications, regional, there are accreditations, there are licensing, and these licensing requirements come with brand new studying. Unfortunately, it's not the one that, oh, you study in this country and then they can just migrate your studying. No, medicine does not give room for that. So you can imagine my career being on pause, like, since 2017. I have been in training. I am still in training up until now. I mean, I have made significant strides, no doubt. I have made significant successes, no doubt. But my career has been on hold. So yes, I can understand with you if you have that legitimate fear of career stagnation. Some of you are in mid-level management already. Some of you are in senior level management. You have actually risen through the ranks. You found better lifestyle. You maybe opened businesses. I'm telling you, a lot of people have opened businesses, and then it feels like, oh, you want to come and start afresh, and things want to come and start from the beginning for you. I totally can understand you. But one thing I want you to know for sure is that if you think about it, you have to weigh these two things in the balances. Is it worth it for you? okay, is this training worth it for you? If you put it in the balance, and of course, as you begin to rise in your career, you begin to have other things attached to your life. You begin to have family, you begin to have children. So you have people who are watching you, you have people who are depending upon you. And being a student coming to the graduate school, usually it's almost like you starting from the scratch, right? It's almost like you starting undergraduate afresh. So it kind of makes sense. So it's one of the challenges that you actually have to ask yourself and mitigate against. Do I want to be stagnant, and for how long? Valid argument. Back in the day, I'm telling you, back in 2017 when I came, I probably wouldn't maybe speak to this the way I'm speaking to you right now, because then I came, I was single, I didn't have children. But let me tell you, if I am standing here now, married with two children, and someone asks me to come again and start graduate school, I probably will, I'll put this at the front and ask myself, what is going to be the alternative? What is the opportunity cost for me waking up in the morning and doing this versus not doing it? All right, now if you actually check, and the cost of you coming back to graduate school, the cost of you undertaking more training is going to be better for you significantly in the long run, please by all means do it. But if you think it's going to be marginal or not so much, the choice is yours. I mean, it's fair game at this point. You can choose to do it, you can choose not to do it, because again, the US system doesn't work like every other system. It's a system that overturns every system that you've known before. So no matter what you've been doing before, somehow there are very, very few things that convert directly here in the US, in training wise, experience wise, education wise. So I kind of understand you if you're feeling that way. So plan appropriately. All right. Now, number 5, uncertain job market. A lot of people, like, listen, people say that when you come to the US and you train the US, you're going to get this kind of job, you're going to get this type of money, and that is true. The US has limitless opportunities, and I agree. But let me say this to you: the opportunities are there, but they are so uncertain, and it takes a long time to land these positions. I mean, there is a popular rule of 10:1, that for every 10 applications you put in, then one will probably be picked up and even be considered. So if you look at it over time, you're looking at like a statistics of you putting hundreds and hundreds of applications for you to even get one response. That is very depressing, I'm telling you the truth, considering the fact that you're extremely well trained, you have put in the work and the rigor, and there is a lot of factors that go into it. All right, depending on where you're coming from. If you're like me and you're coming from Nigeria, for example, and your name is very, very native, nobody, once the computer looks at your name, the computer just drops your name even without looking at your qualification. You're going to have those real problems. I mean, we're not going to even sugarcoat it at this point, right? So let's tell ourselves the truth. The job market is lucrative. I mean, hands down, no cap, right? But then there are uncertainties. There are things that there are like barriers, all right, that would kind of make the job market look scary. And so a lot of international students come in, they apply and apply. Personally, after I graduated from graduate school, it took me 1 year for me to be able to land a job. I applied and applied and applied. I worked, and when I mean 1 year to land the kind of job I felt that my degree and my qualification like merited. All right, I got a job quite easily, immediately. All right, but was it fulfilling the level of education, the time and the expense I have put into that education? No. And so that also kind of ties into the fact that maybe the degree you come into graduate school to study is a whole kettle of fish. We're going to, if you need me to do a video about degrees that you need to come in that kind of convert, because it's a matter of conversion. If you do a lot of work and you put in the effort, and then you come in and then your trajectory in the job market looks more hostile than the trajectory of another person, it means you actually have to do some work, do some research before you come in. Pay attention to what the job market is looking like. If you feel like the job market is looking hostile to you, then you have to start working actively to make yourself favorable in the job market. Tying closely to uncertain job market is number 6 challenge, which is almost like the holy grail of it that almost every international student face: visa issues. I mean, we're going to take a minute because visa is going to be number 1 problem. It's not Finance will be your problem, but visa will become a towering problem. That between visa and finance, I put visa as number six because again, we're not going to put those. I'm not going to put visa ahead because there's a lot of work you have to do early, even before you start kind of facing visa problems, right? If you're applying to jobs, visa is going to be your number one problem because it's going to be like companies don't want to file for you, people don't want to do this, people don't want to do that. You keep finding that it becomes a barrier, like a persistent barrier as you're applying. Now, that is not a problem. It is not a problem at all. Why I'm saying it's not a problem is that people's favors are different. Regardless of whatever everybody says, right? Being the visa is not going to be your primary problem. You only have to make yourself as marketable as possible. Remember, you actually do not have to work only in the US. Like there's the world is your oyster. Like you can work anywhere. But visa, even if you're not going to work back in your home country where you have primary legitimate right to work, visa is going to be a problem. Even if you decide to move to another continent and you decide to move to a different country, or you decide to stay in the US, you're going to have to overcome that visa issue. You're going to have to overcome that challenge of giving you stability to be able to work, unfettered access. All right. So that is a big problem. When you're coming as an international student, you're an F1 student, right? You're on F1 visa, and that visa has certain provisions and is very strict. And it will be in your best interest not for you not to like breach any part of that contract because it will help you in the long run. If you're going to proceed to work in the US, it will help your life a lot. But if you go around and you breach the terms of a visa, I'm telling you, you're going to have issues, point blank and simple. So as an international student coming into graduate school, put this at the back of your mind. These challenges I'm bringing up is not for you to be afraid. I am not saying you should be afraid. I am simply saying that these are things you should adequately plan for. Okay, if you have questions about any of these comments, put any of these challenges, put it in the comment section. These are things you should plan for. Nothing else, nothing more. All right, number 7. Now, from number 7 downwards, right? These are neither here nor there. They are grave challenges, but they are challenges that can be mitigated through different ways, but it's individual dependent. Number 7, and I just put number 7 here just because I didn't know where to put it between number 7 and number 8, right? So I just put it as number 7. Cultural isolation. You come into the school as a graduate student, even if you have a lot of Nigerians. So like, for example, as a Nigerian, I went to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M, there are a lot of Nigerians, like a lot of us. There's some parts of the country you go to, and like Nigerians are like a dime a dozen. You can easily relate. So you can easily find people that share the same values as you, maybe the same celebrations as you, the same kind of, vibe system like you. Those kind of people, when you go to those type of places, you kind of blend in quickly, easily, right? People who have faced similar challenges like you, that you can actually go to, like, hey, look at what the challenge I'm facing, and the person tells you, hey, relax, this is how you're gonna battle it so that you don't get into problems. That is very good for you. But the bulk of international students are going to go into places, into universities, into colleges that you are looking around and there is nobody that looks like you. And everybody is like, what are you talking about, right? What are you talking about? Even the international student office is so small. They have limited resources. They cannot even provide anything for you. So you're forced to blend. The cultural shock is just too much for you. And you come in the fall, for example, it doesn't take anything and it becomes the winter. You're staying at home all by yourself. And eventually, well, thank God for screens, thank God for like video platforms and things like that. You can call your family back home, but it becomes a lot. It becomes depressing. It was worse, especially during the COVID pandemic. People were grounded at home. It was really bad. And mental health disorders now become on the rise. This is not something that international students were like shielded from, but it became more obvious and more rampant. So pay attention to cultural isolation. If you think you're a person that does well in groups, do well to do your research, to go to places where you can have a better cultural balance. You're not going to be fully shielded from it. Don't get me wrong, but you can be better balanced depending on where you go to. All right, these things have their pros and cons. Some people are nerds. Some people they like to be on their own, they're loners, and then they say to themselves, you know what, I don't care, I don't want to go see too many Nigerians. Some people are like that, right? And that's fine. If you're that kind of person, you can go anywhere. In fact, you can go to the hinterland, wherever it is that you want to go to, and you'll survive and do well there. But some other people are social butterflies and they want to be part of communities. They want to go to dance. They want to go to things. They want to go to church. Like, church is a big deal, right? If you come to a place and you feel like you cannot connect at the spiritual atmosphere that the churches are doing, believe you me, you're going to feel culturally isolated. Even when you go there every Sunday, you feel isolated. But again, another side to it is that you need to keep an open mind. I mean, keep an open mind. There is nothing that's wrong with these things. You can always blend. You can always learn new things. Just don't keep a closed mind. Be open-minded. You share your own like experiences and share other people share theirs with you, and you can kind of learn and you can see common touch points. All right, life is not so difficult if we don't make it difficult, right? Now, number 8, inadequate healthcare. In terms of healthcare advancement, US is number 1. I can speak to that in for many reasons, right? I mean, they're doing an excellent job, but the access to healthcare is just a different ball game altogether, and for obvious reasons, right? It's not something I'm going to go into right now, but let me tell you, one of the biggest problems you will face as an international student is healthcare. I know a lot of international students. I'm a physician. I work in the hospital. I work in the healthcare system. But I know a lot of international students who are going to have problems and sit at home. That's because you're afraid, oh my God, how much are they going to charge me, right? They gave me this insurance. How much is going to be my copay? And in your mind, they tell you, oh, your copay is going to be 150 if you go to the doctor. Let's assume it's very serious. And they tell you your copay is going to be 150. And what you have done in your brain is you have calculated 150 by Naira. And you're like, that is more than 100,000 naira, whatever. Or maybe it's like 150,000 naira, or it's like 200,000 naira. Why would I just pay 200,000 naira just to be able to see a doctor, my dear? It is what it is. I mean, it's something you have to just deal with, okay? I mean, that's just how the system works. Unfortunately, we're working hard and we're looking for ways to make the system better. Believe you me, we are. But for now, this is the way the system works. Healthcare is not open for all in the US. Like, it is not free universal healthcare like you have some in some of the European countries. It doesn't work like that. So it's something you have to deal with. These are things, for some people, is a make or break. That is the reason why they choose certain countries and not the US. And that is fine. But if you're going to come to the US, you have to have this at the back of your mind. All right. You do your health checks in Nigeria, prepare ahead in your home country. Ask yourself, what are the things you might possibly maybe need, all right, and then ask questions. You might not fully know all the answers, but it can maybe guide your path into choices that you make, into things that you might probably think about, all right, as you go along, all right. So healthcare is a big problem, and I'm saying that even as a healthcare provider, and just a person that has also been a recipient of healthcare. Healthcare has always been a big challenge, all right. Number 9, safety. I know a lot of people talk about the US. I mean, I've gone to a lot of places where people talk about US and say, oh, the US is not safe. They have guns and things like that. I understand you, and I hear you. I hear you 100%. But yes, everybody's trying to come here. The reason is because I wouldn't say it's not as dangerous as you think, but it's just the whole world is unsafe, all right? The uncertainty and the insecurity is kind of worldwide. So I want you to, that's why I put it as number 9, because I mean, it's a concern, but it's not so much of a concern. It's just like how we're from Nigeria, right? One of the biggest problems Nigeria has too is insecurity. But people would always tell you that insecurity is not, I mean, many Nigerians live in Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria for years. So I know there were problems and they continue to be problems. And this is not to diminish in any way people who have been directly affected by insecurity, and each of us have been directly or indirectly affected by insecurity, right? So insecurity, it might be a big deal for you, especially ones that are like propagated by individuals, right? That not like happenstances, things like the system in the US where people have access to weapons and things like that. I understand you. So you need to put that in perspective. You need to do your research. If it's something that's like of paramount importance to you, you can do your research and say to yourself, okay, where do I want to go? Do I want to go to this place or that place? Is it because of insecurity? That's why I'm choosing this place. Some people do those kind of research. So if it is very important to you, I bring it up because a lot of people are concerned about it, all right? And nobody is going to diminish that concern. That concern is very valid, but you have to do your research and ask, is it a make or break for you? All right. Now, number 10. And it's number 10 for obvious reasons, right? Discrimination. A lot of people talk about the discrimination quotient in the US is like top notch. Now, listen, I know it's there. I'm not going to deny that. but there are always also ways to cope. There's a lot of people in this country. This country is a country of immigrants, different kinds of people. So I want you not to put your hands on that. A lot of people hold on to that as very strong reasons why they will not come to the US, and that is fine. If that is your only problem, or like the top, like bottom 5 reasons are your only issues, I want you to know that there are ways of mitigating these challenges. These challenges don't exist in a vacuum. All right, these are challenges that come with individual players, the challenges that come with individual people causing one problem or the other, right? They are very, very important issues that if you want to hold on to them just by themselves, then you put yourself away from the total picture. All right. You might sell yourself off of what God wants for you. But if you put them in context of other things, again, you might wonder, like, do I want to hold this? How tightly do I want to hold on to this? Or how loosely do I want to hold on to this? All right. And so for me, I will say these are my top 10 challenges I see that a lot of people face, and most people are able to find balance. All right. The top 5 are like the most important ones. They actually just throw you out. They just make sure if you have one of them and it's posing a very big challenge to you, you see yourself struggle on a daily basis. So these are the things you have to put in perspective as you plan to come. This is February, at least as of the time I'm recording this video. And if you, depending on when you're watching it, you might be preparing to put in application for graduate school. You might be preparing to do 1 or 2 things. You might also be planning to come to the US. You probably have secured your admission and you're doing the regular processes around your visa and things like that. Put these things in perspective. Put up a checklist. Oh, I have secured financial stability. I have a full scholarship. Good. Academic rigor and academic competition might be a thing, right? I'm mentally prepared. I'm getting ready. All right. I'm praying about it. Now, personally, one of the things that helped me scale through these challenges was my faith and my trust and my confidence in God. All right. I sit down every day and I pray. I say, God, you are the one who brought me here and you will not leave me halfway. You need to put your mind to the Lord. You need to put your mind in prayers. If you know that your spiritual life is shaky, listen, if your spiritual life was shaking before, like you're shaking like a leaf back in your home country, you're shaking like a leaf in Nigeria, like you're actually going to die out finally here. Like you're going to die. Because there will be so much that will challenge your faith and your confidence in God. But that was kind of my number one thing, right? You pray every day, say, oh Lord, I commit this into your hand. I commit this process into your hand. I commit these classes into your hand. I am going to be the head and not the tail. I'm going to be above. I'm not going to be beneath. You claim these promises of God. You open your scriptures and you read. You put in your audio Bible and you read. As you begin to make stress, people will begin to wonder why grace is speaking for you, because these challenges, nobody's immune to them. All right. But people survive through them. All right. So if you have any questions, put in the comment section below, because these are things that might be small or subtle, but they have far-reaching challenge. They have far-reaching consequences. Okay, and so I'm hoping that with this video you've been able to understand a few things. All right, you've been able to come into perspective of the things that are really, really important for you. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you in another video. Bye for now.